So, welcome to another episode of Industry Talk with CV Magazine. The brick walls that you're seeing behind me are nothing but a symbol of managerial excellence. It's IIM-A forming the perfect backdrop of the Mahindra Truck and Bus MPower Programme. This is the 19th edition with 35 new youth transport entrepreneurs ensuring that they introduce managerial aspects to the family-owned businesses and take the business forward with a touch of their own. Now, through the course of the day, we will show you the grueling classroom sessions, the encouraging dialogue, and of course, interact with these youth transport owners as well as the man behind the Mahindra MPower Programme, one of the pillars of MPower Programme, Professor Debjit Roy from IIM-A. All of that on the other side. Stay tuned to Industry Talk with CV Magazine. Yes. Thank you. So we've just about concluded the 19th batch certification for the MPower Programme jointly with IIM-A and Mahindra Truck and Bus Division. Of course, speaking to perhaps the pillars of this program, Professor Debjit Roy, thank you so much for sparing the time.
Thank you.
You've been associated with the program from inception.
Sure.
Tell us about what was the ethos of the program, what were the fundamentals that were put in place, how did you ensure that this actually benefits youth transporters of the country?
Sure. At this particular cohort, if you have to really empower them and take charge of their businesses, moreover, we're talking about the youth transporters, right? These youth transporters are fresh from the college, they're coming and taking their fathers or uncles or aunts' business to the next level.
Right.
So we really said, what do they need to really progress or do some kind of transformation in their own businesses? So we said we need definitely modules on all the business functions. So we had modules on operations, logistics, branding, finance, strategy. We had all of that. But on top of it, we also had modules on, how do you do improved teamwork?
Right.
And we used a lot of different pedagogies to make that happen. So we, of course, use the case-based pedagogy that IIMA really is very, very prominent about.
Yes.
But we also use in-class simulations. We also used a lot of hand-on games. We had different kind of role plays. So all of these we kind of brought into a curriculum,
right,
which made it much more exciting. But that's on the pedagogy side.
Right.
But we also ensured that whatever we talk in the class, they also walk the talk. So once they went back, they also came back after a year with their transformations they made in the companies.
Right.
So we were also able to see the impact.
Okay.
Not just in adopting new products, but also seeing how they really brought a change in the organization.
Okay.
But having said that, the early days, 2012, 2013, it was a hard time for us to even tell them that, well, we need to use GPS, we need to use a sophisticated ERP system.
Yeah.
But having fast forward, I'm talking 2024 and 2025, here we are talking a lot more about GPS and ERP are given.
Prognosis was a buzzword.
It's a buzzword then.
Yeah.
So now we are all thinking about how do you really use digitization,
right,
and how do you unlock capacities in terms of your fleet, in terms of your workshop operations, and how do you really ensure you use your assets and inventory in a smarter way so that you can scale your businesses with robust processes, but also ensure that profit is never a question, it is always taken into account.
Right.
So that's some dramatic changes we saw.
Right. The academicians like you usually have a very engaging rapport with your fellow students. Any particular organizations represented by these young entrepreneurs that really caught your attention, a transformative potential?
Yeah, I would say not one, but several. But all I will say is that this young generation has a lot of potential, right, because they are in this what we call the Gen Zs of the world, and they think digital, right? And they're always thinking about what is the next big thing we can do in business. They never settle for less, and that is very nice because now if you talk about transportation, I don't think it's no longer they have a lower hand in the ecosystem.
Right.
So with the basis of the understanding about the business and the basis of understanding about data and assets and their understanding about business, they can really have some meaningful conversations with the customers.
Right.
And that really brings up the kind of discussions at a level headed. It's no longer that one is not so understanding about business, others understand. So I think it is a win-win situation for the whole ecosystem.
Right.
And India needs that right now, right?
Absolutely.
if you think even the government is pushing that, hey, our cost of logistics is so high.
Yes.
13 to 14% they say, and some other countries are as low as even 6%,
Single
5%.
digits, yes.
So if you have to get there, I think these are the change makers.
Right.
These are the youth change makers, I would call, who can really transform, bring the logistics costs down.
Right.
And based on our research, we also curate the programs, and we see that a significant amount of time that the transporters' assets are lying is at the loading and unloading points.
Right.
What always caught my attention is that if you talk about shipping, we have a very significant demurrage detention cost. Same thing applies to railways.
Yes.
But still, that is not very prominent in the trucking.
Right.
The trucks are idle, nobody cares about it. There's no cost associated with it. How come? Right? So we have to level up the game here.
Right.
And I think these are the participants who are going to do that.
Right.
I think they really understand and they have the background to really make a meaningful conversation with all the stakeholders in the ecosystem.
Right. Going forward, as your parting words, one is how would you like this program to evolve, and two, what are the key trends in fleet transportation that these youth entrepreneurs should really pursue?
Right. So first question is, how would you like the course to evolve?
Yes.
As I earlier mentioned, IIMA believes in the case-based pedagogy. When we started off the course in 2012, unfortunately, we didn't have many.
Okay.
We used to use some of the basic cases in transportation, but not specifically Indian trucking ecosystem.
Right.
So what also changed over time is we worked with many of the participants and have written a lot of cases that was finally formulated into a textbook.
Okay.
So we have the first textbook, which is called the it's called the Trucking Business Management, Cases and Concepts. So we had two versions of it.
Okay.
How would you like to evolve? Well, we'd like to bring the latest trends in the trucking, how are transporters transforming their business using technology, using diversification, using equity among the drivers, using incentive structure. How would you like to use some of them?
Right.
And so we'd like to update our curriculum in terms of new cases for sure. And we'll also try to develop new evolved ways for having more meaningful conversations with the trucking community. So these are some of the ways we like to transform in the future.
Right. Thank you so much for those words.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Ashish. Thank you.